What's up, everybody? It's the Common Sense Investor coming at you with another video. In this video, I got an alert on my Google Alerts that MarketBeat had put out an article concerning AMC and how hedge funds were scooping up the shares. So I said, well, let me go see, because a 267,000 share purchase of AMC is a pretty big purchase. All right, maybe not in a larger scheme of things, but for one hedge fund to purchase that right now was very impressive. But it was only 1.15% of the float, which is no big deal. But I wish I had $5.5 million to spend. But then we go on and we're going to see about the other hedge funds that have bought into it. And then I'm going to show you what caught my eye in this article. And then we're going to discuss the insider who most likely sold his shares to them. All right, so let's check out my assistant. She's going to read the article to you, and then we're going to be right back just as soon as she's done for me to discuss what it was I seen that I said, oh, y'all might need to know about this. So let's see what she has to say.
Tobu purchases 267,019 shares of AMC Entertainment Holdings. Tobu boosted its stake in shares of AMC Entertainment Holdings Incorporated by 50.5% during the third quarter, according to the company in its most recent filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. A number of other hedge funds have also recently added to or reduced their stakes in the stock. Covestor Ltd. lifted its position in AMC Entertainment by 417.6% during the first quarter. Covestor Ltd. now owns 1,061 shares of the company's stock valued at $26,000 after purchasing an additional 856 shares during the period. Allworth Financial LP grew its stake in shares of AMC Entertainment by 46.6% during the second quarter. Allworth Financial LP now owns 2,224 shares of the company's stock worth $30,000 after acquiring an additional 707 shares in the last quarter. Cypress Capital Management LLC WY grew its stake in shares of AMC Entertainment by 31.9% during the second quarter. Cypress Capital Management LLC WY now owns 3,103 shares of the company's stock worth $42,000 after acquiring an additional 750 shares in the last quarter. Finally, Brookstone Capital Management bought a new position in shares of AMC Entertainment in the third quarter valued at $60,000. Institutional investors own 26.14% of the company's stock.
Now, when I first saw them numbers in that article, I laughed. I said, wait a minute, hold on, just so I can make sure I got the numbers right. Covestor, 856 shares. Allworth, 700 shares. Cypress, 750 shares. What? People, that's nothing. And it makes me wonder, why? Why are you worrying about getting 850 shares, 750 shares? That's not how these people buy these companies, man. They buy in lots and lots if they believe in it. So this led me to believe, after I laughed and then I turned my eyes, I said, wait a minute. That's because there's no shares to buy. All right? Because when a company, when an institution is buying right now, they have to make sure they own 100% a real share that has a crush number to it, okay? That when the rubber meets the road and they have to turn this shit back in, they will have the necessary documentation to prove that these are their shares. No more can they just buy all these millions of shares. The water has dried up. But then as I thought about that and I was laughing, that there's no more shares to buy, and we know that, but here's proof of it where they're only buying a couple hundred shares at a time. Something happened. If you continued on down the article, we find out that in other AMC news, CFO Sean D. Goodman sold 80,750 shares of the stock in a transaction dated when? Wednesday, January 11th, last week. Okay, so you just think about it. He sold 80,750 shares. Well, 750 shares we know went to Cypress. There's no shares to borrow. There's no shares to buy. There's no shares to sell. So, they've turned to an insider, Sean D. Goodman, and he sold 80,000 of his real shares. You got to understand that. At that level, it's not on a level with me and you, where we buy a share or we own a share of a company. We're whitelisted that. But he owned 80,750 real shares of AMC, and he sold them. But don't panic. That's really not bad news, because history tells us, well, analysts tell us they like to see a large insider ownership of a company before a squeeze would happen. But I disagree with that. Why? Because if you look at the chart we see right here, AMC, you see this green? That was Mudrick Capital selling off back in January 23rd, prior to the run-up, people. Mudrick Capital got out of his position, except for a couple hundred or a couple thousand shares. He was out of the company, and then the stock run up. Over here on Highcroft, you see the purple? That's insiders. That's Mudrick selling off. And what's happening right now? Highcroft is up roughly 65% since the sell-off of the insiders. So, now Sean Goodman has sold 80,750 shares. He now only owns 4,420. He owns less shares than most of y'all do. So, that's no big deal. Basically, you're going to cry one way or the other if he sold now or if he sold later. It makes no big deal. I'd rather him sell now and get out of the way, because these smaller hedge funds that we're discussing right now that are buying up these smaller shares, that's because they're getting ready for the squeeze, people. So, hold on. I think it's coming. The bombs are getting ready to drop. Now, I just bought, just for clarity's sake, I just bought GNS, Genesis, because I watched the West videos, and I'm going to be talking about them later too. But I jumped into that. I'm ready to go with that one. Also, I have my AMC, my Ape, and my Highcroft. Right now, that's it. So, with that, I'm going to let you go. Don't be discouraged. They're going to try to twist this around and say that it's a bad thing, people. But every time the insiders have sold off, we've had a squeeze. So, relax. Enjoy the day. This is going to be a good week for us. Love y'all. Be blessed. See you in the next video.